Getting to a card game past this launch can be difficult, as you must learn a bunch of mechanics at the same time in order to get caught up with other players from the game. Legends of Runeterra is a game that tries to make it easier for new players to get acquainted with how the game works, through both mandatory and optional tutorials that get added whenever the game gets an expansion. However, if you're like me and want to get a glimpse of the mechanics before getting invested in a game, I have the perfect guide for you, or a cheat sheet if you will. First, let's go quickly through the basics. This is the battlefield. In front of you is your opponent. These are the nexus. You both start with 20 health. The goal is to deplete your opponent's health before they destroy your nexus. This is the attack token. It signifies that you can attack this round, as you could probably tell. This is the mana bar. Each round you get one extra mana gem that stacks up as the turns go by. You can play cards by spending your mana. Units use the main bar, and spells will deplete the spell mana before using the regular mana bar. Any extra mana that you have at the end of the turn will be converted into spell mana, up to 3 mana gems if they are available. Let's take a quick look at the different types of cards in the game. This is a unit card. It has its own power, health, cost, keywords, and effect. There are 2 types of units, followers and champions. Champions are stronger cards that will evolve and get stronger when a criteria is met, and usually decks revolve around them. Apart from units, we have spell cards. These have different effects, keywords, and an assigned cost. Depending on how fast the spell takes effect, they are divided in slow, fast, and burst, from slowest to fastest. Now that you know the basic details about the game, let's take a look at the keywords, which are basically the bread and butter of Legends of Runeterra. The keywords are usually displayed in this section of the cards, and have their own icons that will accompany the cards when they are at play, so you can always keep an eye out for them. However, there are some keywords that don't have those icons and are restricted to text, and don't worry, I'll make sure to point them out when I explain them. There are a bunch of keywords, so let's dive in. This keyword grants effects whenever the card at the top of your deck is from the same region as the card you're playing. This is basically a coin toss, but can work every time if you have a deck composed of cards from a single region. Whenever a card with this keyword is summoned, the player refills a spell mana gem. When a card with an aura is in play, this grants a lasting effect on the field. Whenever it is destroyed, the effect from the card will end. Cards with this keyword are granted a barrier that prevents them from taking damage the turn the effect is used. This keyword's effects come into play if you have a card in play or in your hand that matches the criteria that the keyword asks for. This is simple. The unit can attack. As before, this is self-explanatory. However, these cards can be challenged by enemies and force them to defend against the attacker. Cards that have been captured are removed from play and will only get back to the board once the unit that captured them dies or is removed from play itself. Units with this keyword can challenge opponents' cards and force them to block your attacks. Cards with this keyword activate their effects when they are placed first in a round. The deep keyword comes into play whenever you have 15 or less cards in your deck, granting the units with a keyword a 3+ attack and 3+ health. When you activate this card, cards from your hand or your deck get removed from the game. This keyword lets a unit attack twice, first with a quick attack, which we will get to in a bit, and the second a normal attack. You deal damage to a target and your nexus gets healed by the same amount. Draw a card or a specific type of card from your deck. The elusive keyword makes it so units can only be blocked by your other elusive units. This basically guarantees that you are able to attack directly to the nexus. This keyword comes into effect when the mana bar is filled with 10 gems. Spell mana does not count. Ephemeral units will die when they strike or the round ends. Fearsome units can only be blocked with units with 3 or more power. Fleeting cards will be discarded at the end of the round, so make sure you play them in that turn. This keyword makes it so the opponent's card's power is set to 0 during that round. Cards with Fury gain 1 power and 1 health when they kill a unit. This is currently reserved mainly for the Dragon cards. This activates the card's ability when an allied spell effects go through. Immobile cards are units that can attack or defend. When you trigger Invoke, you are able to pick a celestial card among 3 that are presented to you randomly. These cards are placed alongside units granting specific effects when in play. They can't deal or take damage, but they can be removed by other means. These cards' abilities will take effect when the unit dies. Like the keyword Drain, when the unit deals damage, it heals your Nexus. However, Lifesteal doesn't trigger if the blocker has a barrier. This keyword lets you draw a specific number of cards from the enemy deck. However, you cannot draw an enemy champion. The effect from this card activates when the unit hits the enemy Nexus. The Nightfall keyword is the opposite of Daybreak. Therefore, it activates the card's effect whenever they are not played first in a turn. When you obliterate a card, they are completely removed from the game. They can't be revived or brought back to play. If the attacker's power is greater than the defender's health, the difference in damage will be dealt directly to the Nexus. If you've damaged the enemy Nexus this round, you can activate the effect from the cards with these keywords when playing them. This keyword was mentioned during the explanation of double attack. Units with quick attack will strike the unit defending first. If they are able to kill them, they won't receive damage from the unit defending. The rally keyword lets you attack again after you've attacked, or attack on a turn where you're supposed to be defending. Recalling an ally sends the unit back to your hand, removing any extra effects or damage that the card had while it was in play. Cards with regeneration restore their health back to the amount they are said to have. This is usually set to cards that act as tanks and are difficult to kill. When you use the keyword Revive, you bring back from the dead a unit that was lost in battle or died because of another effect. However, you can't revive obliterated cards. Scout units let you attack twice on a turn, but only if the first attack was carried out by only cards with this keyword. When you silence a card, you remove their effects and keywords, as well as any extra effects that were granted to it by another card used before the unit was silenced. Skills act like fast and slow spells. They can be reacted by the opponent to cancel them or prevent their effects being as damaging as they can be. Units with this keyword won't let a spell or an ability have effect upon them, instead consuming the spell shield and leaving them vulnerable to the next one. Cards with the strike keyword will activate their effects after the unit has struck the Nexus or an opponent. Stunning a unit makes them unable to attack or defend during that turn. When a card summons a unit, it will be brought to play if you have space on your board. To see which card will be summoned, just right-click on the card with the keyword and you'll see the details. To support a unit in Legends of Runeterra, you simply must place the unit that will be supported to the right of the card with the support keyword, granting them the effect from the ally that supports them. The keyword Toss removes cards from the bottom of your deck, obliterating them in the process. Champion cards won't be tossed. Tough units will take 1 less damage from every source, so you'll need an attack or spell that deals 1 more damage than their health to defeat them. When a condition is met, an effect will be triggered immediately, as if it was a burst spell. Vulnerable cards are units that the opposing player can force to defend his attackers, not letting the player choose if they want to defend with them or who they are going to block. And those are all the keywords in Legends of Runeterra. I hope this guide was helpful and you'll consider playing the game. If you're still unsure, keep posted to the channel, where we will be addressing how to create decks, synergies, and much more. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the Rift.